Well, good morning. We're up for an early morning hike this morning. We're up at Black Hut Management Area. We're just probably about a quarter mile, not even, down the road from the house I grew up in. Now, these woods I pretty much know by the back of my hand, although I haven't been here in about 30 years. What I'm hoping to show you today is there was an abandoned historical cemetery out in the middle of the woods. And in front of one of the gravestones, it actually had a plaque that said the person was from the Grand Northern Republic Army, which was a regiment that the Union soldiers kept together just after the Civil War in case any more battles had broke out. Also, there's foundations back here, some old rock foundations, and a couple cement ones from some older homesteads. Now, the only problem with this part of Black Hut Management Area is I looked on some of the GPS maps and they either don't show the trails, or if they do show the trails, they're not really accurate as far as what my memory shows and also what Google Earth shows. Now, the only part that I'm a little bit hesitant about is I'm a little bit out of shape. I haven't done much hiking this summer. We kind of went from real rainy weather to heat indices, or the feels like temperatures in the upper 90s, close to 100, which is not good because that means you can get heat exhaustion and heat stroke. So this is probably my first hike I've done in about maybe a month and a half, so I'm a little bit out of shape. I don't know if the camera is actually catching this, but there is a hill I got to go up to the first field. Not really expecting to see too much wildlife this time of year in the middle of summer. Also, it's thick with greenery, but I did want to get a few pictures and show you some of the stuff that I grew up with. Okay, so we're at the top of the hill. We're at the spot right now known as the first field, we used to call it. Now, when I was growing up, right through there, that's all grown in now, was the trail that actually went all the way down up behind my house and all the way up to the fields at Spring Lake Beach. Unfortunately, it's all grown in now. The trail doesn't even exist anymore. Over here we got the first field, and we got some wildflowers that are growing. So I think I'm going to stop, take a couple pictures of the wildflowers. So these right here are some of the wildflowers that are growing. We got little brown-eyed Susans that are growing up through here, or black-eyed Susans, depending on where you're from. We got some purple flowers, and we also got some Queen Anne's lace. These fields are very thick with weeds, but this right here is a Queen Anne's lace. And also got some purple wildflowers. Okay, so we're up to the first cellar hole back here. Now, unfortunately, I am on state land, so they do not allow any metal detecting back here. And you're really not even supposed to be digging bottles, but back when I was a kid, probably about 10 years old, we dug a lot of bottles. So this right here is the first cellar hole that we used to dig a lot of bottles from, and found a lot of pottery. I'm not sure if there's any bottles still down in there. A lot of it's been caved in now. Over here, there's another cellar hole. And you can see all the stone work. There's also a rock wall that runs up along the back of the cellar hole, probably to delineate property boundary back in the day. The trail I needed to take up through the field doesn't exist anymore. It's all waist deep with weeds and everything growing out through the second field, but looks like they put in a trail that runs along the second field, so I'm following that. Goes up through the woods a little bit, and then I'm gonna cut back over to where I need to be. So I veered off the trail. Trail kept going down towards the lake area, but the second field ends right up through here, and this is where the other trail picks up that I should be on to show you what I want to show you. Alrighty, so I come to the crossroads, and I was wondering if I was actually going to be able to find the cemetery because the field doesn't exist anymore. But luckily the trail that I was on actually comes out to the cemetery. So if I come up around here, I should be able to get into the cemetery. Now, I just scared off something really big. I was hoping it was a deer, but the amount of noise that it made tromping through the woods, I don't know. But the old cemetery is right back here. And actually, it was a deer. I don't know if my GoPro's catching it, but he's going off that way. Big whitetail. Looks like Betty did come back here, which is good. So the Burrillville Historical Society did restore this. So I'm going to take a look at some of the graves. 70 years old, died 1875. This one here, can't read this one, but let's try to see if I can read this one. Behold my grave as you pass by, as you prepare for death and follow me, is the last line. Can't really read that. All right, this one here, born 1831, died 1905. Born December 10th, 1848. For Orfidel art something, but like I said, a lot of these I can't read. This one's not that old, 1920. Now, this is sad right here. A lot of infant graves. That child daughter was only about a month old. Same thing, looks like they had possibly twins. This is possibly the grave that I was talking about, or the H metal plaque actually gone. So the one thing I did want to point out with this gravestone of the person who was in the Grand Union Northern Republic Army, he actually died in battle. If you check this out, I don't know if you're going to be able to read this or not, but it says Albert C. died January 22nd, 1844 at the age of 10 years, 11 months, and 14 days. Edward died in the late rebellion, May 12th, 1864, age 20, looks like 27 years, 8 months. Sons of Edward S. and Deborah Ross. But there is a flag. Oh, wait a minute. It's over here. They took it off the grave and they actually propped it up against the rock here. I'm going to try to read it again. Grand Army of the Republic, 1861, veteran, 1865. So that actually used to be in front of that grave, but I'm just going to leave it there since that's where the Historical Society put it. So yeah, got some history up in these woods. And as you can see how old this cemetery is, the way it was actually made. So I got some more of the fencing from the gate that used to be here, but Betty might have took it out when she come up through here with the Historical Society. Looks like we got a few more baby graves up through there. Back in the old days, depending on how old some of these graves are, they didn't really put any marks on them, especially if they were child. So this is another grave here. This stone, and then this stone right here is possibly another grave. And then also over here, got another marker over there. Possibly one up by that corner as well. And we got this lone one back here. Sarah J. Ross, wife of Maury Ulrich, died May 21st in 1908 at 69 years of age. gone but not forgotten. All right, so like I said, this was all open field when I was a kid. Kind of cool though about how it all kind of grew up around here, and then they did a little bit of clearing to preserve it. Kind of adds to the mystery about being out in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere. It also shows how nature just kind of takes over things, and you never know where these old homesteads used to be. But so there might have actually been a private cemetery for the homesteads that were up through here, and some of the foundations that I'll show you if I can find them on some of the trails. But I'm really glad that Betty Mencucci and her team actually came through and preserved this and put up their sign, because when I was growing up and as a kid through here, the sign for the historical cemetery town of Burrillville 44, that was pretty rotted, and it was all shot up with shotgun holes, and there was a lot of grass and weeds that were growing up in between the gravestones. They did a really good job at preserving this old cemetery. A little known fact about Betty Mencucci, who now heads up the Burrillville Historical Society, she was actually one of my data processing teachers while I was in high school, and we kept in touch throughout the years off and on. But I did publish a little bit of the video out on my Facebook page, and she came back with a comment, and I just want to read her comment about this cemetery and show the amount of work that goes into restoring these, especially when they're located out in the middle of the woods at the middle of nowhere. So her comment reads, "Carlo and I did the conservation work on this cemetery beginning last fall, and we finished it this spring. We cleaned and reset all the stones. A few were broken and they were repaired. We had to lug our tools in there. We also hauled a 60-pound tripod and 30-pound hoist. We go in and clean it 3 times a year. The stones were unreadable until we cleaned them. We used D2, which cleans biological growth, but is also safe for the gravestones and us. We have conserved 28 of the town's 130 cemeteries." So the Historical Society puts in a lot of work. So I just want to give a shout out to Betty. Very commendable work she's doing to preserve the history of Burrillville. And I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. I want to show you something that's a little bit interesting. Got kind of a flat area over here with some grasses that are grown up over it. I'm not sure if this was a home site or not, because it's real flat and through here you got all these grasses that are grown up just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So you got kind of an outline of rocks, and then like I said, you got that square right there that has the grasses that are grown up, and you got the rocks that come down here. But this is possible this was another home site. And take a look at this tree. Got all rocks that are kind of like either piled up around this tree, or the tree grew up through this rock pile. And you got some more rock piles through there. These are all ferns that are growing up, so it's kind of hard to see in there. But I don't know, I just thought this was kind of interesting, this almost perfect square grass patch. And almost looks like it could be some sort of hay, but not sure. But like I said, this used to be cornfields. This became state hunting lands. There's all homesteads back here. But yeah, I thought this pile of rocks around this tree were kind of interesting, and then I noticed the grass patch. Over on this side, you can see more of the way the rocks are. So yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting, kind of weird. As you can see through here, got another stone wall. Now back in the old 1800s, they used to use these stone walls to delineate property markers. But this stone wall, as you can see, actually runs down through the woods that way. And I'm walking on an old fire road right now, possibly an old horse and carriage road. Alrighty, so I took a side trail and I did find one really old foundation. I forgot how deep this was, and it may have actually collapsed over the years, but check this out. I don't want to be hiking up through here at night and fall through this. You can see how deep down it goes. Just going to stand on the edge of it. This one I think might be semi-modern, but not sure. You can see it's all cement on that side. Now this tree, a couple of these trees are actually cut. So it looks like they might have thrown something in there, and looks like somebody might have threw an old pine tree or some sort of tree so they could climb down in there, or have some animals climb out if they get stuck in there. But this goes down a long way, and you can see over in the corner there, got some old boards. Not sure if they were part of the original house. And as deep as this is, I'm not sure if this was actually part of a house or maybe part of a mill structure, but that is very deep. Kind of a white line that goes around. Not sure if that delineates some of the water line or not when this gets totally flooded. Okay, so one more look at that cellar hole. Hoping the GoPro is picking up how deep that actually is. I mean, it's probably a good, I'd say probably 15 feet. I mean, it's a deep one. Go for another look around this side of it. Alright, so this is pretty cool. We got another stone wall, well-defined stone wall that runs up along there, heads down into the woods. This stone wall, where it cuts up on the corner of this road I'm following, actually follows the road. So I'm thinking this used to be another plot, house plot back here, or another homestead back here, where this delineated a lot of the old property lines. One of the problems I'm having back here is I haven't been in these woods in 30 years. A lot of stuff has grown up. The fields that used to be back here, some of them don't exist anymore, making it hard to find stuff. Plus, they also carved a lot of new trails. Back when I was a kid, 70s and 80s, we didn't have GPS, we didn't have smartphones. I just spent a lot of time wandering through the woods. I really had no destination. We spent all day out here. So that is the jawbone of a deer. It kind of looks like a deer jawbone. Put it up against the tree. Okay, so I'm headed out of the woods right now. I'm almost back at my car. One thing I did find a little weird, although like I said, this is 30 years ago since I last been up here. I did not see any blueberry bushes, I did not see any black raspberries, and I did not see any wild grapes. These woods used to be totally full of them. We used to get buckets and buckets and jars full and fill our stomachs as well as filling the buckets while we're picking them, but apparently that stuff's not growing up wild through here anymore. So, but we're almost back at the car. My bug spray is worn off. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Starting to get a little warm out. I wore jeans and not shorts because I knew it was going to be wet. I knew there's going to be a possibility of tick. So one more look at some of the wildflowers that are growing up along the road. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and look forward to showing you my next adventure. Please subscribe, like this video. It helps out my channel. Comment if you'd like, ask some questions if you like, and I hope to see you next time.